Good evening, Dr. Dain and cohort members. In this video presentation, we will explain counseling programs in the areas of IPSs, also known as Individual Plans of Study, and College and Career Readiness. Along with sharing about those, we will share some of the initiatives that schools use to benefit students in these areas and what the building leader's role is in these important areas as well. In the past, Kansas schools were focused on graduation requirements and getting students to graduation. Programs like IPSs and those associated with college and career readiness now focus on the bigger picture. How does what students are doing in school today impact and align with their goals for tomorrow or post-high school? Much of the research done and being summarized for you this evening is from Dr. Randy Watson, the Kansas Commissioner of Education. In his few years as Commissioner, he has established the goal of Kansas Board of Education as leading the world in the success of each student. Along with this goal, Dr. Watson has pushed the 5 R's: relationship, relevance, rigor, responsiveness, and results. The outcomes associated with the results category includes our topics for tonight. So what are individual plans of study, or IPSs? IPSs are roadmaps to help students take advantage of the educational and vocational opportunities that match their interests, abilities, and what the student plans to do in the future. These plans should begin sometime during their middle school years and then follow students through high school and even into higher learning, tech schools, and four-year institutions. The plan is established during the middle school years and revisited annually, sometimes more, to verify student abilities, interests, and future career goals. Oftentimes, these conversations will take place with parents present to help keep everyone involved and aligned with the goals and plans that are set. College and career readiness is exactly what it sounds like. It's the process, the methods, the initiatives that school districts put in place to help students be successful in future endeavors. Next, Alex will share about the initiatives that exist among Kansas schools to help aid in IPSs and college and career readiness. Although many of these initiatives are mostly geared toward middle school and high school and even some into higher learning institutions, there are still initiatives that can be taken place at the elementary level. In the next few slides, Alex will share with you about the initiatives that are used when it comes to the individual plans of study in college and career readiness.
Hi guys! So I have linked here College and Career Competency Framework. I think it's a really worthwhile resource checking out. A lot of the content is free, but I did send this wheel out to you guys in a survey this past weekend. Thank you so much for participating in it. But the responses I got back, the most popular ones were communication, problem solving, critical thinking, and conflict management. And I think it's super important to note that content technical knowledge was really small below conflict management. And I think as we traditionally think about where we've come from as schools versus where we're going, I do think that we need to really take a look at these larger ones, the goal setting, adaptability, empathy, teamwork, and really see how we can incorporate those at a large, how we can embed them into our classrooms. And I think a lot of that, the school counselor can be a really great resource for. And then talking about at all levels, there are those weekly lessons happening at all the levels. I've linked the Kansas counseling curriculum. I think that's also a worthwhile resource to check out. Counselors do complete individual check-ins with different students. Lunch bunches, I got this idea from one of the elementary counselors that I spoke with. And then as long as a good part of their job is also the 504 plans. But I liked this meme because the bottom one, because it talks about having data to back up your interventions. I think data can look very different. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pre-test and a post-test. It can be saying, or you can be checking, okay, I met with a student once a week and we just had lunch, and are they having less behavior problems? Are they coming to school more? I really like looking at data from that perspective because I like it to be useful, and I think school counselors can provide very useful interventions as well as data to support them. And then some food for thought that I have. The counselor isn't always the one delivering the counseling curriculum. I think, as good teachers, we do a little bit of it all. We teach that teamwork, we teach that empathy, the problem solving, communication for sure. But counselors do deliver the big ones, suicide prevention, if any specific trauma happens, drug use and bullying, although that's becoming more talked about on a larger scale. And I think something worth noting is that you're probably already practicing some college and career readiness in your current classroom. I think all the way down for you wonderful kindergarten teachers. I think about being able to share, being able to put together that school can lead to where I want to go in life. All the way up to, I have 12th graders, so they graduate in a couple weeks. But Erica and Andrea and I really talked about exposing our kids to different opportunities that may not exist just in their community, that may, be new to them, but I think it's worth really hammering home that there are opportunities in this world for every kid to be successful, and that looks different for everybody. But if we individualize it, if we make school fun, if we provide opportunities and that exposure and hit on all these competencies, I think that's what college and career readiness and counseling services are. Thanks for listening.
It may be worth noting that CTE courses are available at most high schools, and in these CTE courses, which are standing for Career and Technical Education, many students get exposure to various career fields. There are 16 different career clusters in the state of Kansas, and under each of those clusters are opportunities and exposure to various careers. Now that we know a little bit more about individual plans of study and college and career readiness, as well as the counselor's role, we will learn more from Erica about what the principal's role is in all of this.
The principal's role is critical as professional learning communities work to prepare learners for college and careers. It requires a new level of sustained and focused effort on instruction. Essential for success is that a principal leads the school in implementing more challenging curriculum, more sophisticated instruction, and more intense instructional supports. Ambitious instructional leadership is a term that was coined by researchers who conducted a study of 10 principals in urban areas who were identified as outperforming district and state peers in effectively making this shift that prepares learners for college and careers. They did this through leadership practices at exceptionally high levels of intensity, quality, and intentionality. In the next slide, you'll see that this study was able to identify 6 key instructional leadership practices. The first was setting a vision for ambitious instruction. Next, upgrading instruction and instructional models, creating systems to support data-driven instruction, creating opportunities for individualization and intervention to all students, creating systems for ongoing professional learning and collaboration, and providing consistent coaching and feedback to teachers. On the next slide, I'd like to hone in on 2 of the key practices to better illustrate how ambitious instructional leadership differs from that of traditional or standard instructional leadership. So you can see all 6 key practices are outlined there on the far left column, but looking at the graph on the right, I've honed in on assessments and then that individualized learning piece. Starting with assessments, standard instructional leadership does not align many assessments to those CCR standards. These assessments are also administered infrequently, often as benchmarks taking place 3 times a year, and data is not effectively shared to inform instruction. Ambitious instructional leadership effectively aligns interims and formative assessments with those CCR standards. They put in place efficient data systems to allow for collaborative sharing so that teaching teams are able to make instructional adjustments and decisions based off of those rapid formative assessments. At the bottom, you can see with standard instructional leadership, Individualized learning is only provided to those struggling or at-risk students, many times to students with special needs, and it exposes students to content that's below grade level. Ambitious instructional leaders focus on individualizing learning for all students and exposing students through supports opportunities to master rigorous grade level content. In our next slide, I'll summarize the practices of ambitious instructional leaders that result in learning outcomes that include college and career readiness. First, principals make decisions based on an in-depth knowledge of college and career readiness standards, effective instructional practices, and high-impact approaches to leadership. Next, leaders emphasize that practices be carried out with significant frequency and consistency. They devote an increased amount of time and staff to instructional leadership to facilitate this level of intensity. Quality instruction is a priority. So high-achieving principals utilize research-based findings on best practices that include a feedback protocol in which principals are able to give specific and actionable steps to improve instruction immediately. Finally, intentionality includes a focus on clearly defined, standards-aligned outcomes related to instruction.
Thank you so much for your time and attention. A Google document with links for each resource categorized by topics and subtopics are provided in the shared Google Team planning sheet. We hope that you learned something new about individual plans of study in college and career readiness. Not only are you already doing these things in your classrooms, but you can use them and be really beneficial with them as a building leader as well. We hope that you'll utilize these resources when going forward in your building leading endeavors. Thank you again.